This Transport Month feature is proudly brought to you by iFundi. iFundi, future ready.
So basically what we're going to be looking at in terms of scope is we're looking at Transport Month. We're going to look at the history of JC Auditors, and then we'll look at the digital era, and lastly skills development. So we'll just intertwine it in the conversation. It's a pretty easygoing conversation where I think where I would like to start is obviously just a bit of background history on JC Auditors, what you do, and your role in the whole transport fraternity.
Yeah, so I started out as a one-man consultant. I left the comfort of my corporate masters back in 2005. Back then I was doing compliance work within a chemical manufacturing environment, specifically around warehousing, storage, and distributing of chemicals in quite a big supply chain in Africa and in Europe as well. Then when I left that business, I felt I had a passion for promoting safety, compliance, and efficiency in the transport sector. So when I left my corporate company, I started out consulting one-on-one to businesses, advising and trying to help them improve initially efficiency.
Okay.
Because you got to talk to cost savings, you got to talk to cost benefit to get people's attention. So initially we started as trying to improve the efficiency in the supply chain, and then I became involved in the RTMS project in 2006.
Yeah.
Now, that project is actually what was a key driver for JC Auditors being where we are today, right? So back then it was a research project, the RTMS. It was called actually LAP for Load Accreditation Program.
Oh.
Now, it was started off as a project between government, the National Department of Transport, the CSIR, the research people, the forestry industry, notably SAPI and Mondi, and their goal was to save our road networks. They realized the number of freight trucks moving timber from the plantations to the timber mills was increasing because of Transnet's inability to cope, and if the trucks were overloaded, they were damaging the roads, and if the roads were damaged, it would limit our supply chain efficiency in addition to the safety risks that are there. So that's how our team has started out. So we became quite interested in how do we ensure trucks are safely loaded to prevent damaging the road networks. But then the project evolved to say, what about the other safety challenges in road transport? What about vehicle maintenance? What about tire management? Driver behavior in terms of compliance with safe driving behavior. Then we looked at driver wellness. I mean, I can give you a stat which is probably alarming, but we did a driver day last year at Highway Junction on the N3, and we interviewed around 200 or plus drivers, and of that number, 24% were screened for diabetes and hypertension. All were screened, and of the screening, 24% were found to have out-of-range sugar levels or hypertension. So that tells me there's a large number of drivers on our roads who do have these severe chronic illnesses but don't know about it. How do I get there? Oh yeah, so the project evolved to become a very holistic manner of managing a road freight business. So over the years, JC Auditors has in I think adjusting to the increasing demand, we've grown and now have a team of around 18 auditors. We cover all 9 provinces in SA. We've now expanded quite significantly into Namibia and Botswana. And it's interesting, Alwazi, it's not really a business-driven kind of an approach. What's happened is that transport operators have seen the benefits. They've seen the reduction in crashes and accidents. They've seen the increased vehicle uptime, reduced breakdowns, reduced fuel consumption, and overall positive spin on their business. And then it's word of mouth and some workshops that's actually allowed JC Auditors to grow to now have probably around 400 odd clients in the SADC region. And we've become very much an advocacy now. In addition to our on-the-ground audit promoting safety, we realized we have to look at the bigger picture. I don't mean to sound alarmist again, but we have a crisis on the roads.
Yes, definitely.
If you look at the number of crashes, the inefficiency, the congestion, the delays, and all of that, we are paying the price as an economy.
True.
So we need to really, I think, get more people in the discussion. And that's part of the ethos of JC Auditors, is to collaborate with a wider range of stakeholders. Government obviously are key, but to be honest, it doesn't turn the wheels of government. Take a long time to turn. So at the private sector, we've got to make this happen, man. So that's kind of in a nutshell our journey and where we're at now, Lwazi.
Fantastic. It strikes me that you've done a lot of groundwork at the bottom, as much as your approach is rather holistic and it's broad now. If you're reaching areas of the SADC, how important are things such as road networks within South Africa, and what informs how well they are in relation to the type of transport systems that we have?
So if you look at our national roads, the N1, N2, N3, N4, etc., these roads are managed by SANRAL as a division of the Department of Transport. We have amongst the best road networks in the world when we talk national roads.
Okay.
And I'm talking about build quality in terms of the bitumen, the engineering components, the design. We are comparable to the best in the world. So on the national roads, we good. And you see it in the N3, N1, N2, no problems. Yeah. The problem we have, Alwazi, is on the municipal, provincial road networks. So these road networks are not managed by SANRAL. They're managed by the provinces and municipalities, where the maintenance is not being done. There isn't sufficient funds being allocated. And so we've got a problem on the municipal and provincial road networks, potholes, road premature degradation due to inadequate maintenance. And of course, without the roads, we don't have an economy, right? Because I mean, us as consumers, we need the trucks to bring the bread and butter and clothing and shoes to where we live. So we might have a great national road, but to get to my house, the truck's hitting potholes, damaging its suspension, damaging tires, increased engine wear, and all those costs go back to who? You and I, the consumer. So yeah, we have some serious challenges. I think we've got to start talking about if we're going to, I think, improve our country's economic performance.
And did you find that, something that I was not even, I don't think most people are aware that with national, you've got your National Department of Transport, or SANRAL, that is running the main national roads, and of course they're in tip-top condition. However, as you go into local government or into your municipalities, it's the municipalities that are now responsible for taking care of these roads. Over the past couple of years, since JC Auditors has been in the industry, what do you think are some of the lagging points? I don't want to dwell too much on that, but what have you seen as some of the challenges, rather, within municipalities in their ability? I mean, you've got places that some would be, let's say, suburban places, good places, that still would have potholes. What is the challenge amongst municipalities when it comes to taking care of roads?
Well, to be honest with you, I can't talk directly to the challenges that result in what we see. What we are seeing is clear and evident potholes, roads that are poorly maintained. Now you're asking me why is that? I'm guessing it's because the municipalities and the provinces haven't used the funds adequately, and I think it often is due to lack of foresight to realize these are critical assets for the country and for the cities and the provinces. So I think it speaks to the fact that there might be inadequate appreciation of the criticality of roads, and it might talk to the fact that people in the provinces and in the municipalities perhaps don't have the knowledge base to budget adequately and to get the engineers involved, because these are all technical areas and we need technical people to help out. Political people may not have the knowledge to make engineering decisions. So that's kind of what I think is the reason for some of the problems in the provinces and municipal networks, Ulwazi.
Let's go to JC Auditors. Your work, I think it speaks for itself. Your relationship with the road transport management system. What are some of the highlights? I'm sure you would have picked up on a lot of, let's say, what wasn't working and that you might have innovated, and you say now JC Auditors has managed to bring in innovations. What were some of the highlights in the last couple of years as JC Auditors?
Look, I think for us, we believe very much in the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Our passion is to reduce crashes on our roads, increase vehicle uptime, reduce the cost of transport, and thereby contribute to a more sustainable supply chain, because then we all benefit as citizens. Some of the highlights of Wazi, and for me, nothing brings a better feeling than when I go to a client and I see, hey, they've had 20 crashes last year, and this year it's down to 5. Wow. That's the light bulb moment. Now, we've had at least 65 national workshops around the country in all provinces, all major cities since 2008. At these workshops, the highlights have been the case studies presented by transporters. So these guys come up there and they show their slides, the statistics saying, hey, we've implemented the RTMS. Our team at JC Auditors has provided guidance. For example, how do you optimize your payload? In other words, how do you ensure you are loading the truck so that it's at its most efficient? How do you manage your inflation pressure of your tires to prevent inadequate rolling resistance, which influences fuel consumption? So these case studies are the highlights, because the guys are saying we've had an 8% reduction in fuel purely from improved vehicle maintenance and a focus on driving behavior. Now, 8% for a fleet of like 400 trucks is a few million a month. So it's very tangible savings.
It is.
That has been the highlight of our journey over the past 15 years, Ulwazi. And it still brings a smile to my face. Yesterday I was talking to a company, one of the biggest in the country, that's based in Bloem. They've got mainly rigid trucks. They've got like the pick and pay contract is one, but a few other big ones. And the lady, the fleet manager, she said to me, wow, we've had a 2% saving on our consumption for the past 2 months since implementing RTMS. Now, 2% for those guys is a big number. But that's the kind of highlight that really is really fulfilling, to know that the work we're doing is having a tangible impact on the roads.
Tell me a bit more about skills development. I would imagine that most of the interventions that you have, like the workshops and the case studies, when I listen to the interventions that you've made, being able to save companies money, there's some sort of skills that one, let's say from the driver to the road users to the manufacturers to the automotive industry. What would you say about skills and the way it's transforming today? We know we're living in the digital era. What have been some of the notations that you've made in terms of what are the skills demands within the transport industry or in your line of work?
Look, one of of the challenges is that young people don't want to go into transport because they see it as a kind of a dirty job and they want to go into office jobs. So we definitely have a lack of people who want to go into technical vocations, like, workshop managers, tire bay technicians, guys who want to do fleet control, etc.
Wow.
So those are some of the technical skills that we're lacking, I believe.
True.
But talking to the issue of the automotive industry, I think the biggest area for improvement, or the biggest opportunity for improvement, is in the area of driver training.
Okay.
Because 80% of collisions, not just here in SA, but globally, is due to behavioral issues. So the biggest opportunity for skills development is not to have academic. I mean, I know the teacher programs and now the QCTO is coming in, and I know all about that. But we need to move away from this fixation on academic training. We need to have innovative means of engaging people at their levels and really make an impact to change culture. Training in itself is not going to help us. We have to change culture, and that takes more than just training. It takes monitoring. It takes coaching. It's about empowering people to make them feel like professionals in what they do. So we're talking now about culture change, and the training is one aspect of a multi-pronged approach to achieve the culture change and to have really tangible ways of increasing supply chain efficiency and safety in the automotive sector.
How long have JC Auditors been actively involved with some of these innovations, whether in supply chain or in transport with the RTMS?
So formally 15 years, because we were formally registered in 2008, but I've been doing this for at least 20 years, but not as a registered business, but as a private consultant. The 15 years is kind of where we're at now. And we're very, proud of what we've got in our books, the top 20 corporate logistics companies and the top 20 private-owned companies, in addition to 300 odd other businesses. So, these clients of ours, they look to us for guidance.
Yes.
In terms of not just only the status quo as it stands, but to help them navigate the future challenges, right? Building risk mitigation systems in. So it's great. We love what we do, but we've got to be at the top of our game. With the likes of an Imperial or a Supergroup or a Unitrans, knocks on your door. They listen, guys, we need to know what's coming next.
Oh, yes.
We need to understand where we're at. We need to almost see a bit into the future and give them guidance as to how to navigate. So that's really, I think, a key part of the challenges we face, keeping abreast of not just legislation and economic developments, but also looking at AI, looking at digital changes. How do we use these new tools, the new way of life, to equip our clients with what they need so they can grow their business and be sustainable as well.
I think
you can see I've lost all my hair. That's probably one of the reasons why.
I think, Oliver, that takes me straight into my next question. I wanted to find out about the digital skills and the whole digital foray going into the future. What can JC Auditors maybe advise us to expect, whether it's skills or whether it's just the whole digital and AI? How is it going to impact the world of transport?
Well, I think it's a cliche, Lwazi, but the world will never be the same again since COVID, right? So COVID taught us all that there's a virtual world out there that can meet our needs and we don't need to engage with people face to face, and this our meeting is prime example. So in terms of digital skills, I mean, we're talking to a UK-based company and a French company now on virtual reality software.
Wow.
That can, traditionally, when we talk drivers, we've had to take a driver into a truck with a trainer and drive on a road and behavior. With these new virtual reality training coming on board, we give the guy a VR headset.
Oh, yeah.
You program in a specific route or routes or a specific scenario, and you give him a joystick or a steering. So he's in this truck, and he's navigating, he's changing gears, he's looking at risks, and all of this is tracked by AI that can now say, hey, Mr. Driver, you missed that risk. You braked a second too late. Your lane change was not as smooth as it should have been. You didn't see that. You didn't plan forward. So with the AI virtual reality training, look, it's still very early days yet in SA.
Yes.
I think a few of our European competitors are further down the road. But we're seeing a definite shift in people looking into it. And we think it's the way to go, because to get 50 drivers in 50 trucks is a mission. But to get 50 drivers with 50 headsets in a room is a lot easier and perhaps equally effective as well. So that's kind of on the training side. But from our point of view, we're now streamlining our audits.
Tell me about that.
So it used to be obviously Microsoft Word, Excel based. We moved on to a digital platform now that's based in the cloud. Again, it's a French company that has the IP, so we've partnered with them. And what this will mean for our clients, Alwazi, is that we'll have a platform where the client can log in, look at the data sets, extract meaningful information from a dashboard. We do it on an app, and the app can work offline. We take photographs, we take videos, and all of that is now in a portal that gives our clients information on the fingertips to understand what is their performance, what are the KPIs. If a client has got 50 depots, which is quite common in our world, the fleet manager sitting in head office can say, okay, 50 depots, this is how the green lights or the red lights per depot, give him a quick snapshot of what's going on. And in this fast-paced world, people have got no time to read 10 pages, They just want a quick happy face, sad face, green, red, orange, say, listen, I'm good, what's next? Or we got a problem here, let's look deeper. So the AI and the digital world is now forcing us to think smarter, to appreciate that our clients don't have time to read through 10 pages. They want to know, is it green? Is it orange? Is it red? If it's red, what must I do? If it's green, no problems. If it's orange, what must we plan for? So part of the innovations we are working very hard at Alwazi is to make our software and our systems user-friendly and very quickly, very quick diagnostics for our clients.
Fantastic stuff. I love it when I hear about innovation, and because of where the world is going. This makes me think. You spoke about how you have expanded into countries like Namibia and some SADC countries. We're looking at the whole the whole African Free Trade Agreement areas and all of that, which is obviously going to bring a lot of movement within our borders. I was checking just recently, the president launched the border management system. I've been researching a lot in terms of long distance truck drivers that go into the SADC region and some of the queues that you find at the borders. How important is border efficiency to the overall, as the region grows? How important is what do you call it? Is the efficiency of these borders? And lastly, just to add to that, how important is the upskilling of drivers?
So with the border posts, it's painful to see what I'm sure you've seen on social media, 25-kilometer long trucks queuing at Lebombo, at Chirundu, at Beitbridge. Here locally, up in KZN North Coast, Richards Bay, we've seen queues of 18, 20 kilometers of trucks waiting on the N2, trying to get into the port of Richards Bay to load or offload. It's ridiculous.
What's going on there?
It's distressing in the extreme at the inefficiency. And the truck standing, who's going to pay for that? The banks want the premium. The truck owners have to pay the premium on the installment. So the truck standing means it's not earning income, and there's a knock-on effect. So the border posts are a huge bottleneck currently.
Yes.
And I think if you look at even the ones going into Maputo, the ones going into Zimbabwe, they're also equally bad. Now, we've been talking about Act for the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, and one of the goals of that is to have seamless border posts that can make provision for efficient movement in the region. We've been talking for at least 10 or 15 years now about harmonizing standards in the region. I was involved in a project with the CSIR as a sub-consultant in, I think, 2009 or 10 under Trademark SA. It was funded by the World Bank, I think, or by the UK, and that project was trying to harmonize standards in the region. So if I'm loading a truck in SA, and if it's got a certain mass, if the signage is a certain way, when that truck goes to them, suddenly the driver shouldn't have to adjust his load and remove signage because of their legislation. Why would he do? So we're trying to have a global standard around the mass of the truck, the signage of the truck, the driver document, so that where the truck is going from here to the DRC, there should be that efficient process across the borders. It's not there currently. I mean, even the SARS and the other, revenue agencies in the region are talking. There is this AEO, Authorized Economic Operator. You get pre-clearance when you're moving goods between the different SADC regions. That's great. There's some nice movement there. But on the ground, Lwazi, we need the borders to be more efficient, and we need the countries in each of the regions to, I think, improve the efficiency. I mean, bribery and corruption at the border post is rife.
It's hectic.
It's rife. It's hectic, and people don't realize that. We can't go on like this. So it needs the regulators. We need the government to come to the party.
You know, I heard you speaking about how some of the necessary changes, they speak to culture. There's the culture of road users, the culture of the people that use these vehicles. And it brings me to my next question. Young people, I think there's a culture there of just thinking that transport is not important, or it's a career path for old people. What do you think is going to take to change the narrative? Because transport, I always say transport is like the blood veins of any economy, and you're absolutely correct. I'm actually trying to think out of my colleagues or my friends, people in my age group, how many people are actually studying or within transport, and I can think of hardly any. What do you think is necessary to change that narrative amongst young people?
I think the shift will have to come from opportunities in the market. So, I mean, we know that the population in the world is expanding. That means consumers want goods delivered. So you'll find, Lwazi, compared to even 10 years ago, you get these massive warehouses. You've got these, people importing or manufacturing goods that need to get to the consumers. So the whole discipline now of logistics management and supply chain management is a discipline on its own. And I think young people are realizing, hey, logistics is an industry on its own, whereas 20 years ago, logistics wasn't an issue because we didn't have these big warehouses, we didn't have the consumers or population increases, and we didn't have an increasing number of people with disposable income to spend on laptops and on cell phones. And so I think the increasing population rather, has created a demand for logistics professionals. And the young people are now saying, hey, all these warehouses, if you look at the R21, a massive explosion of warehousing. It's a massive explosion of trucks moving goods day and night, hey? So it's a natural shift almost I'm seeing that people and young people are saying, hey, I want a job And there's no more jobs as a teacher, lawyer, doctor, accountant. That's saturated.
Yeah.
This is now the new world of logistics and transport. So I believe it's there. If you talk to people at the University of Johannesburg, they've got a very active supply chain department. I was talking to, I forget the prof's name last week at a conference. They're seeing increase in numbers of applications.
Oh.
I've got a friend who's a lecturer at the Vaal University of Technology, and he was saying, logistics is becoming a big deal. So I think it's following a natural progression, and at the same time, I think there is room for the educational institutions, even at school level, for us to start young people, exposing them to bigger careers, even AI, even technology. I mean, careers like, I think when I grew up, certain careers were never there.
Yeah.
So the young people have got to say, hey, listen, there's a new world. We can't just think doctor, lawyer, accountant. When I grew up, you either became a doctor, lawyer, accountant, factory worker. It's really defined careers.
Yeah.
Now the world's your oyster. You can pretty much social media influencing. I mean, who thought of that as a career? People are making hundreds of millions. I always say people like me in my age, we missed the boat, eh? We got traditional, but the young people now, they've got a world of opportunity. We have to expose them to the world of opportunity. We have to give them the skills that will allow them to optimize their opportunities in this new world. So we've got to get them thinking out the box and not the traditional study at university or somewhere, get a job, retire at 60, and then go live in a beach somewhere. Those days are over. We need young people to think differently, and otherwise they won't fit in to the global economy.
Oh yes. No, absolutely. One of my second last questions, Oliver, your business model strikes me as one that has, because of the results, like you said, it's all in the pudding, you know. And now, what would you say has been that outstanding characteristics of one of the outstanding characteristics for JC Auditors? What is it about your business model, or let me say the service offering, that has worked? Because I mean, to have some of the largest big players in the transport industry and servicing them, just as a lesson to either small up and coming SMEs, what is the one thing that you would say for your business has been a standout in your ability to be able to give a good service offering to your clients?
The number one thing that I've learned as I've gotten older, and I need to do more of it, is to listen carefully to the market. Don't do what you think they need. Listen to what they actually do need. And that is quite an art. So listening to the client need is absolutely critical. And then equally important is being innovative in addressing the market need and give them more than what they want. In other words, add value.
Okay.
Because if you give a client just what he needs, he'll see you as just that. But if you give him that plus something else, you're not only helping him and you're getting the relationship built, but you're also giving your own business an opportunity to grow into markets you may not have seen. So in our own business, Wilworthy, I can tell you, we now expanded into medical devices.
Wow.
We're in engineering big. We're in the mining sector. We're in logistics, obviously. So part of our ethos is to never stop innovating. In other words, we never settle for where we are. We don't say, this is our model, and we're happy here. We could be happy. We're doing quite well. But there's no joy in that. There's no fulfillment in staying happy in your circle. You have to be constantly looking for new opportunities, and there's opportunity everywhere. We're now doing data security audits. We're doing training on educating employees how to avoid phishing attempts and attempts by hackers. It's something that 4 years ago, it was nowhere even in our ballpark. And now we're becoming quite an influencer there. And it came out of a need from one of our clients saying, we just got hacked. Someone had got into our database they hacked our information, and they wanted €100,000 or dollars.
Whoa.
And that made me think, hey, it's a new emerging risk. How do we protect our clients from being hacked? Or not protect, but how do we mitigate that risk?
Mm-hmm.
And one way is to make the employees understand how hackers operate. So we've got a world, in fact, I would say, maybe I'm being a bit conceited, but it's a world-class training program that even the likes of the biggest IT companies haven't put together. Look, it costs us a lot of money, the development work, but it's all animated videos. It's fully online, on demand. And the response was it had been phenomenal. And it's a space we never were in 4 years ago, not even a little bit. So to answer your question, I know I've been around the bush, is to listen to the client, understand the market, innovate. Never settle for where you are. That's the key to growth.
Absolutely, Oliver. Just bite me a little bit more. I'm interested in that that sort of data security course you're talking about. I mean, data security is probably going to be one of the most important things going into the future. Tell me a little bit more about the benefits of that course for, I would imagine, the logistics and transport industry, just for the listening potential customer.
So, all the big corporates, and I think most companies now, use a platform that's based in the cloud or a digital platform.
Yes.
Now, all your financial stuff is there, your operational information is there, your human HR information is there, your trips, your load planning, everything is in the cloud. What if your little innocent young lady who just started work in your business clicks on a link that she didn't or should not have clicked, and you've got some hacker in Russia or Eastern Europe that now has access to your entire client database, all your secret recipes, and your financial information? How do you protect that? So this software that we've got, it's cybersecurity training. It equips every employee in the business to understand exactly how to identify these hacking attempts. It could be phishing via email, which is often the case. So you probably know that I think it's 80% of data breaches is via social engineering. In other words, someone clicks on the link. So the other 20% is actually clever hackers doing their bit. But 80% is from a leak. In other words, an employee who's not been fully aware. And this is exactly what our training is doing on cybersecurity. It's training people saying, what is phishing? Your Google passwords, how often do you have the same password on 5 accounts? If somebody hacks one of those sites and you use the same password in internet banking, your bank's gone. Your bank's gone. So every site you go to, if someone hacks into that site, they've got your password. And if your password is used across 20 sites, you're gone. We had a CEO recently. He gave his phone with some upgrade or update. Somebody there checked his info out, and his bank account was stripped of, I think, 200,000 or 300,000 rand.
What?
And it's happening every single day. It's the new enemy, man, I'm telling you. The new enemy. So we've got to get our businesses thinking, how do I protect my most valuable, maybe second most valuable? Your people are your first most valuable. How do I protect my systems, my IT infrastructure, my digital footprint? If we don't do that, you can be the best company in the world, but you'll always have a point of attack, which is that young lady or young man behind a computer that has access to all your information.
Wonderful stuff, Mr. Naidoo. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. My last just request from you, let us know what your forecast is in terms of, we're living in areas talking about electric vehicles, automation, and all of that. What is your passing word in terms of just looking forward into the future of transport?
I think there's two answers. If you in a European market, I think electric vehicles or hybrid electric vehicles are gaining traction in a big way. In South Africa, there's lots of discussion on the hydrogen economy, on HEVs, on LNG vehicles, and there's some pilots here and there. But the reality for us in South Africa, and in perhaps most Africa, and even South America, and other third world countries, is that we're still stuck with your traditional engines, your traditional engines. And I think, although we're starting to have discussions on electric vehicles, we're a long way off. Infrastructure is not there.
Yeah.
And even automated vehicles, we're a long way off. For the automated vehicles to operate, you need infrastructure that will allow it to operate. So we're light years away.
Okay.
So I'm not against electric vehicles. I believe it is the way forward. But the reality is right now, let's look at our existing, it is what it is, right? At our existing constraints, let's maximize our efficiency within the existing supply chain, which is using coal as its primary energy source. And fuel, yeah.
Oliver, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've learned a lot, but I'm going to do more research in terms of the type of courses you guys offer. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Been my pleasure, and good luck with the article. Look forward to seeing it.
Absolutely. No, I'll definitely share that. It's coming out at the end of this transport month.
Excellent, Wildy. Have a good day, man. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Ciao.